Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope all of you are doing well. If you are preparing for the ISA IEC 62443 Cybersecurity Fundamentals Specialist certification, you are in the right place. So after the amazing response to my mock test 1 and mock test 2, I am really excited to bring you mock test 3 today. This test has some new, tricky, and some practical questions on the topics like Purdue Model, risk assessment, and product security lifecycle. Before we begin, let me clarify. This is just a mock test, not the actual exam questions. But don't worry, these questions are designed to help you prepare effectively for the real exam. So let's dive in and start practicing. So, alright, here is how it works. I will show you a question on the screen with four options. Take few seconds to think about your answer and note it down. Then I'll reveal the correct answer and explain it briefly. Sounds simple, right? Let's get started. So here is question number 31. If you haven't watched for the first 30 questions, so you can find them in my earlier videos like mock test 1 and mock test 2 on this channel. Make sure to check them out for more practice and preparation. So here is the question number 31 for you. Which of the following standards addresses the requirements for developing an effective IACS, Industrial Automation and Control System Security Management System, to protect against cyber threats? So here the key terminology is IACS Security Management System, and which of the following standard addresses, right? So your options are IEC 27001, 62443-2-1, COBIT 5, NIST Special Publication 882. So what is the right answer, guys? So it is 2-1. So I'm submitting. Yes, that's the right answer. Why? Because none of these are related to IACS except for this. But however, this is the guideline, special publication, not the standard. And you might get confused with these two options, but 27001 is relevant to information security management systems, that is ISMS in short. So the right answer is, when we talk about IACS, always remember we are talking in terms of 62443. So here is question number 32. What does ISO IEC 21827 emphasize in its approach to security? Your options are evaluation of hardware security, compliance with IT governance frameworks, maturity and capability of system security engineering processes, and protection against emerging cybersecurity threats. So, what is the right answer? So, here we are talking about the standard. So, I think you know, it is required for you to memorize different standards, specifically on ISO and IEC. Remember, you can expect at least two questions from the standard chapter, right? How the standards have been evolved. So for this particular question, if you remember correctly, it's nothing but your capability maturity model, CMM, because it focuses on what? Its maturity and capability of the processes related to system security engineering. So the right answer is C. And the other options, the compliance with IT governance. So, this particular standard does not center on the governance or compliance like COBIT 5, right? And the protection against emerging cybersecurity threats, yes, maybe indirectly contributes. It's not direct. And evaluation of hardware security. So this particular standard does not focus on any hardware security evaluation. Instead, it addresses the overall security engineering process. So the right answer is C. Question number 33. What are the three main categories of CSMS? CSMS means Cyber Security Management System as per 62443 standard. Option A, risk analysis addressing the risk monitoring. Second option, business rational, classification and assessment. Third option is security policy, organization, and awareness. The option D is implementation, review, and assess. So I want to give you an hint like how to approach to this question. So this is the CSMS chart where you need to refer, and maybe if you want you can memorize it, but if you understand the concept it is easy to remember. So what are they asking? Three main categories of CSMS. So risk analysis, addressing the risk, and monitoring and improving the CSMS. And all these are, it's an element. So individual like CSMS scope, organization for security. So here the right answer is risk analysis, addressing the risk, and monitoring. So out of this four, A is the right answer. And remember, from this particular figure or picture, you can expect at least three questions in your exam, or from the CSMS concept, right? There are six elements of CSMS, how you have to develop like high level risk assessment, detailed risk assessment, and establish the security policies, and then monitoring, maintain the CSMS. If you remember these two charts, definitely you are going to get minimum 3 to 4 questions. Question number 34. What is a common pitfall of conducting a detailed risk assessment as part of a CSMS program? So here the question, common pitfall, detailed risk assessment of the CSMS program. As I said, if you look at those CSMS six elements, one of the element is detailed risk assessment. And for each of those blocks, you will have common pitfalls. For each step, like initiate the CSMS program and then conduct the high level risk assessment, detailed risk assessment, establish the policies, maintain the CSMS. So all six blocks are important, and for each of the blocks you will have common pitfall. And also there is an arrow mark given like input. So high level risk assessment output is connected to the detailed risk assessment, as well as establish a security policies, right? So that's why please remember this particular chart is very important. And also remember, for each of the block like initiate CSMS, you will have common pitfall. So I have taken one of the pitfall for example in this question, but you can expect any of the common pitfall from any of these six blocks. So maybe you have to understand the concept of the CSMS. That is why I said in my first video that during your preparation, give utmost importance to each and every bit what it is written in the presentation, right? In the note set 1, what you get. So that is most important. So your options are here: collaborative processes within the organization are immature, lack of effective communications before, during, and after the risk assessment. The option C is lack of management support resulting in insufficient resource allocated. Pre-selected common countermeasures are not aligned with identified risks. So here we are in detailed risk assessment as part of the CSMS program. Okay. So here straight away, lack of management support is insufficient resource. Definitely it's a part of initiate the CSMS program. But we are talking about detailed risk assessment. And the option A, collaborative process within the organization. Yes, definitely. This is also one of the option, but so failure to communicate findings, priorities consistently, that becomes the common pitfall. So our option B, lack of effective communications. So this is the right answer. Question number 35. Which factors drive the selection of countermeasures during the risk management processes in a CSMS program? So which factors drive the selection of countermeasures? This is the key word here, selection of countermeasures during the risk management process. But we are talking about CSMS program. Remember, I am talking about IEC 62443 here. Okay, remember this. When I prepared this question, you can expect during the, in the real exam also, you might face the same similar type of questions, but they might have mentioned IEC 62443. So your options are results of detailed risk assessment, pre-selected common countermeasures, and the organization's budget limitations. Is this the right answer? No, right? Because the budget limitations are not explicitly, you know, is not a driving factor. It may influence at the implementation stage. So option A is ruled out, right? So organization's risk tolerance, yes, the results of high level risk assessment and pre-selected countermeasures approved by external auditors. So countermeasures are not typically approved by external auditors as part of the selection process. That is, outside the scope of the CSMS framework. So the option B ruled out. And the D, the result of high level and detailed risk assessment, risk appetite of individual departments and availability of technical resources. So maybe risk appetite of individual department and resource availability may play a role in this, but they are not central drivers in the structured process defined by the CSMS framework. So the right answer is organization's risk tolerance, result of detailed and high level risk assessment and pre-selected common countermeasures. So please be careful while reading the CSMS part. If want, please refer to 2-1, 62443 2-1 standard. Question number 36. Which of the following identifies the application that will handle a packet inside the host? Right? Identifies the application that will handle packet inside the host. So carefully observe the question. The options are TCP UDP host, TCP UDP port number, UDP host, TCP port number. So take your time. What is the answer? It's TCP UDP port number. Why? What does uh, port number does, right? TCP and UDP both. So example, when packet arrives at your computer, for example, the port number is used to determine which application will handle the packet. So each application listens to its assigned port number. For example, you are browsing the internet. So your web browser send a request to the web server using port 80 or port 443 for HTTPS communication. So this tells the server that packet is meant for the web application. Sending an email, for example, your email client communicates with mail server using port 25 for SMTP. So the port number ensures that the packet is directed to the email client application. So that's why the port numbers are important. Why not other? So host. So this term refers to the entire host or a device. So which is identified by the IP address, not a port number. Then comes the UDP host. So host refers to a device as a whole, not to specific applications. So UDP port numbers are used to identify applications, but UDP host does not define any application. And then the TCP port number. This is partially correct, but not complete. TCP port numbers do identify applications, but the question explicitly mentions about application that will handle packet inside the host. That is both considering TCP and UDP, meaning both protocols need to be considered. So UDP also uses port numbers to identify the application, making this options insufficient. So the right answer is TCP UDP port number. Question number 37. Which of the following protocols is most closely associated with session layer, that is layer 5 of the OSI model? Option A is Simple Network Management Protocol, SNMP. Option B, HTTP. Option C, Internet Protocol. Option D, Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol. So SNMP, so what we are talking about here is session layer, that is session 5, layer 5. SNMP, as we all know, it works on the application layer, so not the session layer. Even HTTP is at the application layer, and internet protocol is the network layer, that is layer 3. So what we are talking about is session layer, that is layer 2 tunneling protocol. So hence the right answer is layer 2 tunneling protocol. Question number 38. Which characteristic of Modbus makes it easily manageable by firewalls for securing communication? So what we are talking about here is Modbus. So if you know the all the industrial protocols, then it will be easier to answer this question. So option A, source IP, destination IP, TCP port. Option B, real-time channel. Option C, DCOM settings. And option D, RT-IRT, that is real-time and isochronous real-time. So out of this, if you remember Modbus port number 502, so straight away you can say source IP, destination IP, TCP port is the right answer. How about other? So real-time channel, which is more relevant to Profinet, and DCOM settings, it's OPC classic. RT, IRT also are the features of Profinet, not the Modbus, because Modbus does not provide any real-time or synchronized communication capabilities. So the right answer is source IP, destination IP, TCP port 502. Question number 39. What is the target installation time frame for a patch after it has been approved by the IECS vendor when the priority is medium? So what are we talking about here is the target time frame for a patch from the vendor, but priority also set here, it's the medium priority. So option A, 3 months time when the priority is medium. Option B, 2 years when the priority is high. Option C, 1 week when the priority is low. And option D, 6 months when the priority is high. So as you can see here, we are saying priority high 2 years. So obviously this is not the correct answer. 1 week when the priority is low, low can take more time. 6 months when the priority is high, but 3 months when the priority is medium. So out of these, this is most relevant. Why? Because here we are talking about the priority is high, and usually high priority patches demand much faster action due to their critical nature. Waiting for 6 months would expose the system to unnecessary risk, making this option maybe inappropriate. But 3 months when the priority is medium, definitely yes. Question number 40. Which encryption method would most likely be used in scenarios where performance is critical and low network overhead is required? So the key question is most likely and performance is critical and low network overhead. Asymmetric key encryption, symmetric key encryption, block ciphers with asymmetric encryption, stream ciphers with symmetric encryption. So if you carefully observe and understand the different kind of encryptions, so we can easily answer. The the answer is symmetric key encryption. Why? Because symmetric key encryption is faster and it requires less computational power than asymmetric key encryption. And also it uses single shared key for both encryption and decryption. And it avoids any complex mathematical operations required by as in unlike asymmetric key encryption. So other options are either it requires a lot of computational requirements, and also it reduces the performance. So when we look at the scenario where performance and low network overhead, in our option symmetric key encryption would suit the best answer. Question number 41. A secure file transfer application needs to encrypt data in fixed size blocks, example 64 bits, to ensure consistency and compatibility with existing systems. So which class of cipher would be the most appropriate for this scenario? read the question carefully. So what are we asking is encrypt data in fixed size blocks. So let us look at the options: stream cipher, block cipher, asymmetric cipher, and symmetric cipher. So here, you know, we're talking about fixed size blocks. So the right answer is block cipher. Yes, we'll explore why it is, block cipher. Because block cipher are designed to encrypt data in a fixed size block, example 64 bits or 128 bits, making them highly suitable for structured applications like secure file transfer. Stream cipher, encrypt the data bit by bit or in very small chunks, making them, ideal for real time or continuous data streams such as video or audio. And coming to asymmetric cipher, it is not typically used for bulk data encryption like file transfer. Symmetric cipher, yes, definitely it is faster and efficient, but there is a broader, category that includes both block and stream cipher in the symmetric cipher. So the question specifically requires fixed size block, so which narrows the choice to block cipher within the symmetric encryption. So the answer is block cipher. Question number 42. Which of the following is not a commonly used cryptographic hashing algorithm? MD5, SHA-256, SHA-512, and AES-256. So here we are talking about not a commonly used cryptographic hashing algorithm. So answer is AES-256 because it's a encryption algorithm, not the hashing algorithm. Hashing means it converts the data into a unique fixed length hash value to ensure your data integrity, uh, whether data has been tampered with or not. Whereas your encryption, transfer data into a unreadable format, so to ensure the confidentiality, and it requires a key for decryption. And this message digest and secure hash algorithm 256 bit and 512 bit. So if you understand the cryptographic algorithm, then easily you can answer. Question number 43. A vulnerability that originates from internal mismanagement of system controls but it is exploited by an external actor can best be categorized as: option A, external threat with a physical source, a weakness in system procedures or internal controls, a consequence resulting from poor incident response, or option D, a lifecycle flaw designed into hardware. So option the right answer is weakness in system procedures and internal controls. So because like poor password or inadequate access control policies or improper system configuration, these vulnerabilities create opportunity for exploitation by the threat actors, whether internal or external. Let us look at the other option. So an external threat with a physical source. So this option describes a threat, not a vulnerability. Straight away you can omit. And the third option, consequence resulting from poor incident response. This is more of a consequence. A life cycle flaw design into hardware. So this is, intentional or unintentional vulnerability introduced during hardware development or manufacturing. It does not describe any vulnerability, arising from internal mismanagement or procedure lapses. So the right answer is weakness in system procedures or internal controls. Question number 44. Which of the following best describes the concept of consequence in relation to cybersecurity? So we are talking about consequence. So we are basically looking at the definition of consequence. A threat actors intend to exploit a vulnerability, a safeguard applied to mitigate system weakness, the result or condition that follows from a particular incident, a process for identifying vulnerability in a system. So first option, it's a threat, what we are discussing here. So easily you can omit. Option B, safeguard applied to mitigate system weakness. So this is a preventive measure. And the option D, a process for identifying vulnerability in system. So that means it's a vulnerability assessment, you can say, but it does not address any resulting impact. So consequences is the impact, right? the result or condition that follows from a particular incident. So the right answer is C. Question number 45. Which of the following best represents the formula for calculating a risk within a risk level matrix? Risk is equal to consequence divided by likelihood. Risk is equal to likelihood into consequence. Risk is financial cost into likelihood. Risk is likelihood plus consequence. So as we all know, risk is likelihood into consequence is the fundamental formula for assessing the risk. It combines, the probability, that is likelihood of an event, with the severity of impact or consequence to determine the overall risk level. So you can expect some kind of questions like this in your exam. Question number 46. What is the primary purpose of a risk level matrix in assessing risk? So we are asking about primary purpose of a risk level matrix. So we are not talking about risk assessment here. We are only talking about risk level matrix. Option A, to determine the financial cost of each risk, to categorize the risk and provide a basis for organizational risk response, to identify all possible threats to the organization, and to eliminate high risk scenarios before implementing safeguards. So option A, financial cost. So maybe, this is one of the consequence considering during the risk assessment, but the matrix itself does not calculate any financial costs. So to identify all possible threat to the organization, it is a part of risk assessment process. Maybe it is not a matrix specific role. And option D, to eliminate high risk scenario before implementing safeguards. So matrix does not eliminate risk, rather it helps identify and classify any high risk scenario. So the right answer is option B. Who is the primary audience for the product security development lifecycle requirements outlined in 62443 4-1 and 4-2? So we're talking about 4-1, 4-2 is part of components. So who manufacture the components? System integrators, asset owners, product suppliers, network administrators. So as the name suggests, it is for the product suppliers. So asset owners basically, includes many products from different vendors. System integrator also collects, they maintain, basically they integrate the various products. So network administrator, obviously they maintain, administer the networks. Hence the answer is product suppliers. Question number 48. What is the primary goal of the product security development lifecycle framework? To ensure secure deployment of industrial systems, or to address secure by design, defense in depth, and building, maintaining, and retiring the products, to implement network monitoring tools for enhanced security, to specify physical security control of the asset. So if we carefully look at the option, we can easily say that, option B is the right answer. The reason is option A, secure deployment of controls industrial systems. So this is basically part of system integrator or asset owner's responsibility. What we are talking about is a product security development life cycle, that is 4-1, 4-2. And to implement network monitoring tools for enhanced security is again, it's not about the product life cycle framework. And to specify physical security, again, it is for the asset owners, right? Uh, because, you know, this life cycle framework focuses on the product design and development and maintenance rather than the physical safeguards. Question number 49. In the context of the Purdue model, why is level 0 generally not directly exposed to the enterprise network? So level 0 means you have many sensors, input sensor, output sensors, actuators, pumps, motors. Basically, we are talking about the process, right? It cannot communicate using standard IP-based protocols. It involves critical real-time process that must remain isolated from external threats. Option C, it lacks sufficient hardware to implement network level security measures. Option D, it is unnecessary for operation the enterprise system to exchange data. Obviously, it cannot communicate using standard. Yes, traditionally, if you look at uh, device may lack IP based communication, but that is not the reason for isolating level 0 from the enterprise network. Option C, lack sufficient hardware implement. Yeah, while device at level 0 might have this limited processing capabilities, but network security is implemented through segmentation controls at the higher levels. So the lack of onboard security in level 0 device is a factor, but not the primary reason for the isolation. And the D, it is unnecessary for operations. So data from level 0 device is essential for enterprise level decision making, like monitoring performance or optimizing operations. So the isolation, the isolation of level 0 from the is primarily about the protecting critical real time process, so from external threats. So making B is the right answer. See, other options might either it is mischaracterize level 0 or overlook the role of segmentation in secure level 0. So the right answer is option B. Question number 50. In a Purdue model based architecture, a manufacturer wants to allow secure remote access to level 2 from external vendors for system maintenance. So which is common. Which solution best ensure both security and functionality? Use a VPN to connect vendors to a DMZ with controlled access to level 2. Provide vendors with direct VPN access to the level 2 network. Implement a shared credential system for vendors across level 2 and 3. Configure the enterprise to allow direct vendors to access level 2. So straight away you can see this is definitely not the right answer because it bypasses security layers, increasing the risk. Shared credential violate the security best practices. And third one is allowing direct access through the enterprise file create an attack vector for the external threats. So the right answer is VPN to connect to a DMZ with controlled access to level 2, so that you can easily uh, control and monitor any unauthorized activities. So we have come to end of the session. Great job. So you have completed all the 50 questions. So whether you got them all right or found some tricky, remember this is all about learning and improving. And this mock test series, like the best way to build your confidence for the real exam. If you have not already, do check out my mock test 1 and 2 videos. I have added the links in the description below. And all the best for your preparation and the exam. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and you will do great. See you in the next video. And if you have any questions, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Manjunath Hiregange, And if you like all my videos, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.